Hello everyone. My research topic is penetration testing for web application. I have a very solid reason why I picked this topic. Here are some factors. According to a report by CDN Network, in 2019 alone, there were more than 5 billion cyber attacks worldwide. More than half of these attacks were a combination of web application and application-specific attacks. So this clearly demonstrates how the problem is big. Penetration testing is the most critical security exercise that helps prevent our hard-earned asset from cyber attack. My research aimed at providing comprehensive review of web application penetration testing methodology and processes that meet the standard set by the security industry, and that helps address the growing problem of web application attack. Before I dive into the details of web application penetration testing, first I want to define what web application penetration testing is. Web application penetration testing is a continuous process of identifying and manipulating vulnerabilities in web applications and related system components. It is carried out with a clear purpose, objective, and expected outcome, and it is performed based on a well-defined methodology that sets the standard for the test. There are several penetration testing methodologies and frameworks, but for this study, I picked only two: Open Web Application Security Project and Information System Security Assessment Framework. The reason why I picked two of them is because these two methodologies provide detailed techniques and methodologies of web application penetration testing. OWASP is an excellent web application penetration testing methodology. It is exclusively designed for web application security testing. It provides very detailed procedures and techniques. Every web application penetration tester should be familiarized with this methodology. The methodology identified 10 vulnerabilities, and these vulnerabilities are the test cases of web application penetration testing. Every application should be tested against these vulnerabilities. These are the top 10 vulnerabilities identified by OWASP, and application should be tested against all these vulnerabilities. What does web application penetration testing phases and processes looks like? Okay, penetration testing has four phases, which are planning, intelligence gathering, attack, and reporting. Each phase also comprises several activities and tests that are required to be performed carefully. Each phase sets a foundation to the next phase. That's why it's very important to make sure that each phase is executed properly. Any kind of test, security test, to be considered a penetration test, all these phases should be incorporated, and the test should demonstrate successful execution of each phases. That's really very crucial. The first phase is planning. It's very important phase of the testing project. It determines the outcome and success of the overall penetration testing project. The scope and objective of the test is defined at this stage. The rule of engagement are also identified. The next phase is intelligence gathering. Another very important phase. It mainly focused on gathering crucial information on the web application and integrated systems. The information that is gathered at this stage lies the foundation for the next phase of the test. We identify users' login information, logon procedures, network diagram, posts, emails, the design and configuration of system components that are available online or displayed on third-party websites. The information gathered at this stage can reveal potential vulnerabilities. All these are activities that needs to be performed at information gathering stage. The third phase is the attack. At this stage of the test, the tester uses a wide range of techniques to get deep insight into the application and components, and he also tries to exploit their vulnerabilities. All these are tests that are required to be performed at this stage of the penetration testing. We can see here business logic testing, cryptography testing, error handling mechanism testing. All these tests must be performed. Configuration management tests. Misconfiguration is one of the critical vulnerability in web application. Ensuring proper configuration at all level is therefore very critical. Configuration of web server, software, database servers, authentication servers, and other elements must be tested carefully. All these are tests that needs to be done at this stage. Identity management testing is another critical test. The objective of identity management test is to ensure that the web application gives access only to those with permission and the right privilege. Failing to define roles or defining roles poorly is a very serious security hole that can be easily exploited by attackers, and it may lead to serious data breach. A test, therefore, required to be performed to detect such failures or a security weakness. The tester must check if the roles are well defined, if they are properly categorized, and effectively separate systems and user roles in such a way that allows application and system resources effectively control access. Test is performed in order to find weaknesses in the authentication process that can allow attackers to get access to the application. Authentication testing consists of several critical testing that needs to be performed carefully. Generally, the tester examines if credentials entered in the web form passes through an encrypted or secured channel. He tests if the credentials are safeguarded. A test is performed to discover a default credential that is used generally when the applications are first configured or when new accounts are created for the purpose of initial authentication. Authorization is a process of granting access to users who provided proof that they are who they claim to be and whose identity is authenticated. The tester is required to be able to verify this authorization process. This test requires knowledge about the authorization process in place. The tester uses his knowledge and the credential he obtained earlier to break or bypass the authentication mechanism to gain access or scaled privilege. So all these are tests that needs to be performed at this stage. These are recommended by OWASP. Session management testing. The session management mechanism is one of the most vulnerable mechanisms and is a common target of hackers. This attack allows the attacker to gain full access to the application and its resources. Since the mechanism is the one that controls and manages the user web application interaction, a successful attack on this mechanism allows the hacker to fully hijack the session and get access to the application. The other test is data input validation test. Applications that have no proper input handling mechanism in place are highly vulnerable to attacks such as buffer overflow, SQL injection, XSS, OS commanding, denial of service, and many other attacks. One of the aspects of input management is validating that the input meets a criteria set for validation purpose. In order to effectively validate a data, the mechanism must be able to define the type of data that is permitted or allowed. All these are tests required to be performed at this stage. Testing for error handling. Yeah. One of the tests, this is one of the tests recommended by OSSP. Poor error handling could allow attackers to get information essential for a successful attack. The pen tester should therefore investigate error codes, information about the state of ports, access controls in place, versions of servers, operating systems used, protocols, and other critical information can further reveal potential vulnerabilities existed in the applications. Testing for weak cryptography. Testing performed to identify SSL TLS issues, including weak cipher, insufficient transport layer protection, and misconfiguration is a very important part of any web application penetration testing. Weak transport layer protection exposes communication established between the web application and the user to attacker. The tester must check if the HTTP protocol is used to transport information classified as sensitive. The penetration tester should check if SSL TLS protocol ciphers, keys, and renegotiations are properly configured and certificate validity is ensured. He needs also to check if there is a software exposed over the internet. In addition to that, he also needs to examine the usage of security flags for session cookies. He needs also to verify the validity and trustworthiness of certificate authority. These are some of the tests, but there are also some other tests that are required to be done at this stage. Business logic testing. Business logic vulnerabilities are most common and critical. It's a flaw in the design and implementation of a web application that allows a hacker to execute a malicious task. So the penetration tester should check if there is such a business logic vulnerability in the design and implementation of the application. All these are tests that should be performed at this stage. Client-side penetration testing is performed on client-side applications such as web browser, email clients, Macromedia Flash, and others. Reporting. Okay, now we have identified all the vulnerabilities and exploits. The next step is, sitting down and writing a comprehensive report that gives detailed information to the company that is being tested. Writing a comprehensive report is one of the most critical tasks. The report is the main deliverable from the penetration tester, and it needs to be written carefully. There are some key information that needs to be included in the report, such as vulnerabilities that are categorized by type and severity level, the security threats, the root cause of the security issues and strategies and techniques used, and also countermeasures. Penetration testing has some principles. For instance, strategic thinking. The penetration tester is required to think out of the box, determining the right scope, looking into the details. The devil is in the detail, so it's very important to look into the detail, using the right methodology, using the right tools, reviewing the underlying code whenever it is possible. It's important to review the source code, proper documentation, and reporting. That's it. Thank you very much.